like to call this meeting to order. Will the clerk call the roll?
Yes, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Wolf?
Here.
Councilmember Capes?
Here.
Mayor Montgomery?
Here.
Councilmember Strawn is absent. Councilmember Rayburn?
Here.
A quorum is present.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Councilmember Strawn is not with us this evening because he has tested positive for COVID and is self-quarantining. As we have a moment of silence, please keep him in your prayers and everyone else we know. Thank you. Thank you. Council, have we had a chance to look at the agenda?
Yes.
Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? And do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
All in favor? Or second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Katie, do we have anyone signed up for the public comment period?
Nobody signed up.
Okay. Okay. Dave, would you please discuss the nonprofit contracts with us?
I'm a poor man, Judy Gallman. She could not be with us tonight, and I know we had some discussion at the last meeting. I know the mayor and the town council had authorized $25,200 that normally go to the YMCA and the Jamestown Youth League for different activities. And in the past, we had made grants to those organizations, and one of the newer requirements is that we actually have contract for services. And so Judy and I met with the representatives of the Jamestown Youth League. We met with representatives of the Historical Society, and we met with representatives of the YMCA. We were able to come down to what we thought was a cost for service that we might enter into contract for services provided. And when we talked with them, we came up with $16,450 to the YMCA for the yoga program in the park, water safety, and spring sports. And we came up with $8,800 for spring sports for the Jamestown Youth League, and that equals our budget. And we did come up with criteria. We came up with a participant charge that is in your papers there. And so we would recommend that the mayor and the town council authorize the finance director enter into contracts for services in the amount of $16,450 to the YMCA for yoga in the park, water safety and spring sports, and $8,800 to the Jamestown Youth League for spring sports. Are there any questions?
Yeah, well, I appreciated the detailed breakdown of the sports program that Lawrence had requested, and I'm satisfied with the financial information that they provided. That's good. The deeper dive is sort of good to see how it's spread out. I don't know.
The other question that we had, we did have a meeting scheduled for yesterday, and we were going to meet with the Jamestown Youth League and with the YMCA, and there had been a question about the use of our field. And right now, we have more people wanting our fields than we have fields. And so rather than have us duke that out, Matthew and I and Parks and Director, we were going to call the two folks in and say, we've got fields for Saturday, we've got fields for Sunday afternoon, and here it is. And we hopefully talked to both of them and said we would invite them in to sit down and try to come up with a schedule that would be beneficial to both, but we know that it will not meet all the needs that we have. So that's planned for the next time we can get that group together. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I would make a motion to provide the $16,450 to the Ragsdale YMCA for yoga in the park, safety around water, and the spring sports service, and $8,800 to JYL for providing youth spring sports services, and allow the finance director to create and enter into a contract for those services specified.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Ross, would you speak to us about the rate changes at the golf course?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So we have been, myself and my team, we've been discussing and working on a rate change. We've done a few minor rate changes in the past. This particular rate change is really all the way across the board. As you can see, several items on here. We contacted several golf courses, 4 of which are there listed as what we consider our nearest competitors. We also contacted 3 or 4 other courses. And I think more importantly, we reached out to our customers, just a discussion with them. What do they see when they go other places? And we have not had hardly any pushback at all on possibility of having a rate increase. So from a simplicity standpoint, we took weekday rates and raised them $1 across the board, and weekend rates, green fees, and raised those $2 across the board. Cart fee was also raised $1. So in essence, weekday rates would basically go up a total of $2, and weekend rates would go up a total of $3. And I think that that's we feel like we could go higher, but once again, it's we don't want it to be a big shock to folks that are coming out. And I think that we are going to use social media and our websites and posting of those rates so that, folks are aware of that. But it's not a big enough increase where, people are going to, have a big shock. I don't think so.
And this would go, if the council approves it, it would go into effect March 1st?
We would hope to do March 1st. That seems to be the best time as spring approaches, and we definitely would not want to do it in the middle of the season. I know it's difficult there, a balanced budget, year, but March 1st would be ideal to do it then. So
Well, are you getting a lot of play at the course when the weather is good?
we are.
Okay. And how are the greens holding up with that as well as the weather?
Yes, we've been fortunate the last couple of weeks. There were some really cold temperatures forecast that did not happen, fortunately. So, we definitely have plenty of moisture in the greens.
Have you had to cover them?
And we have not, since our last meeting.
Huh.
We have not. So, yeah, they're in good condition, and, but of course, the whole golf course is wet, so.
Oh, no. Really?
But, yeah, and more
Well,
rain on the way, so.
My only concern, and you would be the judge of this, is will we lose any business to Ocala? That seems to be, as far as our rates, our competitor there. But I would trust your judgment on that, but that was my only first reaction.
Right, and I have thought about that, and I think that the biggest differential in that pricing would be our greens, and the fact that, the condition of our greens. If you take into consideration the majority of opinions, they would much rather putt on our greens than many other courses. not to single them out, but,
Yeah, just from the rate structure is what I was looking at.
you know, yeah. Apples and oranges, so to speak.
Yeah,
But, you know, and I think that, and that rate that I have listed here, at the time we spoke to them a couple of weeks ago, they were contemplating going up on their rates.
Oh, really?
This is their old rate.
okay.
So if they do have an increase, or if their council, I don't know how they work that, but this is the old rate. So everybody that we talk to is going, so.
Any other questions, council? Sounds good to me.
Sounds fine.
Well, I would move to approve the rate changes for the Jamestown Park and Golf Course to be effective March 1st.
Second?
Yeah, March 1st, yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Okay,
Thank you, Ross.
thank you very much.
Thank you. Matthew, would you continue with the annexation of the Johnson property?
Yes, good evening, Mayor and Council. As you are aware, we continued our public hearing for the request for annexation for the properties listed. I know that we had opened it up for public comment, and we are still there. If you have any questions of me, I'd be glad to answer them at this time. Otherwise, our recommendation would be to continue this until the March 16th regular council meeting at 6 p.m. in the Civic Center here without further advertisement. Thanks.
Did we have anyone that wished to speak on that? Okay. Do I have a motion to continue, council?
Motion to continue.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. And now
And
that is-
our next item is a continuation of the public hearing for the rezoning application for those same parcels. Again, we were entertaining public comment. Be glad to do that this evening and continue with that. And again, staff recommends continuing the hearing until the March 16th regular meeting at 6 p.m. in this location.
Okay.
Thank you.
Do we
Any
have
questions for me? Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Matt.
Do we have anyone who would like to speak during this public comment period?
Would you like me to wait until, see if there's anyone else? Or do
You can go ahead.
Well, we've got,
Yep, we've got Tom too.
yeah, Tom is coming
He
up
will be next.
in the public hearing.
Hi. You've heard me before on this subject. I think the PUD is absolutely a great tool for Jamestown. So to the extent that that comment is appropriate, I think that moving ahead with that is a good one. I've tried to keep on top of this. There's a huge gap between what Diamondback keeps proposing and what I believe Jamestown residents want. Clearly in terms of density, I fear in terms of the exterior appearance, a sea of white throughout that Johnson Farm area would be just disastrous as far as I'm concerned. My suggestion, which is really why I'm here today, is that through you, come up with some minimum acceptable standards to help bridge that gap between the two by telling them, well, here's more of what we want. Not every detail, but pretty close. We have a planning manager, right? We have a planning board. We have a town council, and you have plenty of residents who would volunteer their opinions and time to make up any form of group that you would think would be appropriate to essentially come up with some proposals, minimum acceptable standards. What I've done, and I've given to Katie, are one page, just one page of standards that I believe should be allowed to guide us, and consider them, if you will, Tom Turbo's red line. I mean, I'm saying these things are necessary, or this is going to be just something that most current residents are not going to want. And Katie has my suggestions. Obviously, you'll see that more ideas are needed. And that's why, you know, it would need to be talked over. But you can do that. And particularly with the PUD, you can do that and say, here, and very, in an appropriate way, if this particular development company isn't happy with it, but we are, we move on. Everybody moves on. So there are also examples all over the world I could that speak to what I think would be acceptable or not. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Is there anyone else?
There was not. Amanda?
Thank you. Amanda Hodiern. I'm here on behalf of the applicant, 804 Green Valley Road, 27408. And I really have a question more than a comment. I just wanted to get some kind of a status check-in and an update from you guys. Obviously, we came in tonight knowing that it was going to be continued, so I just wanted to kind of hear where we are and what had transpired over the month and what you're looking to accomplish before March, just so I know, you know, how this is tracking and if there's anything that I can be doing. You know, I feel like I kind of wasn't able to do anything for the whole past month, and now we're about to enter into another month, and I just would like to know. I understand you've engaged an attorney now, and he's got to get up to speed. But I think what would be most helpful, just to sort of frame the question for you guys, is it would be helpful for me to know what the direction is that was given to the attorney you've hired. So if I know what it is that he's been tasked to advise on, that will help me communicate with him. Because I think I understood from the last meeting that, you know, one of the goals in hiring this outside counsel was to have a more efficient communication. And I think it would help me to understand, you know, what the direction and framework of that communication is supposed to be. Does that make sense?
Counsel, is there anything you would like to share at this time?
Not at this time, no.
I would make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion to deny the rezoning request for the rezoning of 2221 Guilford College Road, 5300 Mackey Road, 2207 Guilford College Road, and 5303 Mackey Road from agricultural to planned unit development.
Second?
Katie, the roll call?
Councilmember Wolf?
Aye.
Councilmember Capes?
Aye.
Councilmember Rayburn?
Aye.
Motion passes.
I move that the following statement be adopted to support the town council's unanimous denial of the zoning map amendment petition 2020-01. Based upon our review of zoning map amendment petition 2020-01, including the input received from the planning board, analysis from our consultants, and most importantly, the comments and thoughtful feedback provided by the residents of Jamestown, the town council has determined that the proposed rezoning petition as submitted is inconsistent with the town's adopted comprehensive plan. Through our review, the council has identified a number of significant deviations from the vision, goals, and policies established in the comprehensive plan. Areas of obvious inconsistency that were identified through our review of the submitted petition and associated PUD master plan include an overall lack of consideration for the preservation and protection of the natural and cultural resources that are present within this site, disregard in the proposed design for the unique aspects of Jamestown's built environment that contribute to its strong sense of place and define the character of the community, inadequate provisions of public parks and open space to meet the recreational needs of future residents of the development and the community as a whole. Proposed site development and architectural patterns that will create a monotonous urban landscape and detract from the long-term value and livability of the neighborhood. The absence of an integrated mix of housing types that are needed to ensure the long-term success of the proposed development and the community as a whole. A general development concept in terms of both the physical layout of the site and the composition of the land mix use that does not meet the town's expectation for traditional neighborhood development. The town council's determination of inconsistency with the adopted comprehensive plan is further supported by the following observations and analysis of the petition and associated PUD master plan. The overwhelming majority of the open space designated in the PUD master plan consists of floodplain, required riparian buffers, land subject to utility easements, including the right-of-way of high-voltage electric transmission lines, and otherwise inaccessible or undeveloped lands. The lack of consideration in the master plan for the preservation of developable upland tracts to provide more opportunities for passive recreation, maintain the diversity of wildlife habitat on the site, and preserve important aspects of the scenic beauty of the property is contrary to a number of goals and policies established in our comprehensive plan. Our plan calls for the integration of public parks throughout all neighborhoods. The proposed master plan falls well short of this, with large sections of the proposed PUD, as shown in the included recreation open space plan, devoid of adequate public spaces for neighbors to gather and recreate in close proximity to their homes. From an overall perspective, the proposed recreation open space plan focuses heavily on the provision of private versus public recreation opportunities, with the most significant investment of financial and developable land resources devoted to the private recreational amenity area versus providing greater opportunities for the Jamestown community as a whole to recreate with the neighbors. As the oldest settled town in Guilford County, our comprehensive plan puts special emphasis on the preservation of the cultural resources that help to define the history and character of our community. One of these important cultural assets, the Futrell Mackey Armstrong House, is situated prominently on the Johnson property. While the opportunity exists for the developer to contribute to the preservation of the heritage of our community and integrate this historically significant structure into the overall development, the PUD master plan instead offers to allow a third party to remove it to a location off of the property. The only contemplated alternative to its relocation from the site appears to be the demolition of this irreplaceable piece of our community's history so that it will not be in the way of progress. As presented for the council's consideration, the PUD master plan proposes the creation of 714 essentially identical lots for the development of single-family detached dwellings. The lack of variety in the size and dimensions of these proposed lots will produce a large, virtually homogeneous stock of single-family housing that fails to meet our comprehensive plan's policy to promote the creation of a well-balanced mixture of housing types to meet the needs of a diverse community. Our comprehensive plan speaks to the desired quality and character of new development in our community. As presented in the PUD master plan, the illustrative renderings for both the detached single-family homes and the proposed townhomes do not mesh well with the architectural character of Jamestown, nor do they inspire confidence that what will be built will be of good quality contemplated by our plan. Although the PUD master plan does provide for some degree of variation in the architectural styling of single-family homes, the ubiquity of front-loaded garages that will dominate half or more of the frontage of each of these homes will result in a monotonous architectural landscape that is the antithesis of our plan's vision for creating quality neighborhoods that are consistent with the overall character of Jamestown. With regard to the proposed townhome sections of the PUD, there does not appear to be any contemplation of variety in architectural style, with the illustrations provided in the master plan showing a repetitive architectural pattern that will create a set of interchangeable commodities rather than a series of neighborhoods of distinct character. To be clear, this is not a statement regarding the size or price of homes that are proposed. As our plan states, we need to build and maintain a diverse housing stock that appeals to individuals and families of all income levels, ages, and lifestyles. Building hundreds of practically identical homes will not help us to achieve that goal. From a broader land use consistency, the council does not feel that Castleton Village PUD Master Plan meets the exemplary standards for the traditional neighborhood development that is set forth in our comprehensive plan, including both physical design and the mixture of land uses proposed for the site. As the largest remaining potential development site in Jamestown, the town has long desired to ensure that the end results of the development of the property will be consistent with the character of the community and become an enduring and iconic part of the fabric of Jamestown. By designating the property for T&D on the future land use map, the town has expressed a desire to entertain large-scale development proposals that provide for thoughtful, context-sensitive development of the site. Unfortunately, the design proposal as submitted with the petition does not deviate from a typical conventional suburban development pattern in a meaningful way, and certainly does not meet the high standards that the town expects for the development of the property as a T&D. In addition to the town's comprehensive plan, we must also consider the consistency of the proposed petition with a plan of development established through the regulations created in the Jamestown's Land Development Ordinance. Our ordinance sets forth a number of criteria that are to be used by the planning board and the council when evaluating a zoning map amendment for a planned unit development. Among these criteria are several that we have found the proposal before us to fall short of meeting. First, the ordinance states that cul-de-sacs shall be minimized to the greatest extent possible. Although the number of cul-de-sacs has been reduced from the original submission, they remain in many parts of the development plan for reasons that can only be determined to be related to maximizing the yield of the site rather than providing the most efficient transportation and development layout possible. This includes utilizing them in areas designated on the master plan for townhome development, which we feel to be in general incongruous with cul-de-sacs from a sound urban design perspective. The PUD regulations also state that the development plan is required to demonstrate architectural and design criteria that provide higher quality than routine developments. As noted elsewhere in the consistency statement, the architectural renderings and development conditions in the submitted plan do not provide a design outcome that exceeds the average architectural quality that we would expect to see from any reasonable market rate development proposal in the region. In fact, we would assess that the proposed townhome design to be below what we would expect to see in a similarly situated developments of this scale. A third example of deviation from the ordinance standards for a PUD is the apparent lack of meeting the requirement that development proposals demonstrate compliance with the North Carolina Fire Code. The area shown on the plan designated for single-family residential development in the southeastern corner of the site is provided with a single point of external access, despite the requirement in Appendix B of the fire apparatus access roads of the North Carolina Fire Code for 1- and 2-family residential developments containing more than 30 dwelling units to have multiple points of access. While there is an exception that can be made for residents with approved automatic sprinkler systems, this has not been discussed, nor do we believe that providing such systems has been contemplated by the applicant. The preceding points are intended to offer examples of deviation from consistency with the plan of development established in our Land Development Code, but it is not an exhaustive list of standards that the council feels the petitioner's plan unfortunately fails to meet. In addition to the analysis of whether the proposed zoning map amendment is consistent with our comprehensive plan, we must also determine whether the proposal is reasonable and in the public interest. Since the proposed amendment is not consistent with our comprehensive plan, the approval of the petition would be neither reasonable nor in the broader public interest. As noted previously, the property in question represents the most significant remaining opportunity for a major development project within our community. Deviating from our adopted plan in this instant would not be reasonable, and its approval would tend to primarily serve the private interest of the applicant rather than the interest of the community as a whole.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. I'd like to add here that the citizens of Jamestown should be aware that we did not take the responsibility of making this decision lightly. Our staff, our planning board, and our council have spent hundreds of hours reviewing the latest plan and its previous versions, meeting with the developer and its representatives, listening to our citizens and reflecting on what this land and its development mean for the future of Jamestown. How this land is developed is one of the most significant decisions that our town will make since our founding in 1816. We are mindful of our duty to make sure it is done correctly. How it is developed will affect the character, the function, the aesthetics, and the identity of Jamestown for generations. We must get it right. Our vote reflects a strongly felt decision that each of us has reached independently. The application that we just denied did not rise to the quality of development that our citizens expect, our town deserves, and that our future demands. At the same time, we must respect and never disregard the fact that the owners have a right to develop their property. I ask the Johnson family to patiently work with us, and moving forward, we will do all we can to work with them. Thank you. Dave, do you have a budget amendment for our consideration?
I'd like to recommend that the mayor and town council approve Budget Amendment 16.
I make a motion to approve budget number 16 as presented.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
And I have a short manager's report with your permission.
Okay.
We do have a budget retreat Friday, March the 19th, 2021 at 9 a.m. here at the Civic Center. And I think we are trying to schedule an AARP Livability Committee meeting on February the 23rd at 4 o'clock. And this is tentative, but I think that's what we will be doing. I'm told that the East Fork Road pedestrian bridge, the punch list items have been completed, and we are waiting on approval from NCDOT to close the project. The East Main Street sidewalk, we are still in communication with the railroad, waiting for papers from them and documents to be signed so that we can move forward. Our town attorney has reviewed it. I would say that we are working with the railroad, and we, are pretty well bound by their long-term historic control of the area. But we are doing the best that we can to complete our project. And Paul has done a great job, and Beth, and we are moving it forward. I would report that we have interviewed 6 candidates for the golf course superintendent job. We have 3 candidates, any one of which I think could do the job successfully, and we continue that process. Tomorrow I'm meeting with our staff to discuss the results of our interview, and after receiving all input, your interim town manager will make a decision on who the next golf course superintendent would be. And I would say that once the golf course superintendent is hired, we will work with our staff to begin the planning on the golf course maintenance facility. Our facility, I think it's well known, it is outdated, and we need to do something. The board has provided some funds for that project. It may well be more than that when we put it together, but as we plan it and design it and bring it back, I would anticipate that we might use a design build, and I will bring that back to the board before we take action. But I will let you know that I am still working on that. And the Comp Plan Steering Committee will be held by Zoom on February the 22nd at 4 p.m. and will be broadcast through our YouTube channel. And that's all that I have for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
I just had a question, and maybe y'all can answer it for me. On the AARP Livable Committee, with the appointments we made tonight under the consent agenda, is that roster full now?
Yeah, well, there was a range that they could be, so we're at the, I think it was 7 to 9.
7 is what I was
So we're at
thinking.
7.
So I think we had done 5 to begin, and we just did these others, so that would be the 7. Okay, great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Did anyone have any meetings?
Yes.
Okay.
We did have a TAC Microsoft Teams office meeting on January the 26th, and Mike Fox, who's the division chair of DOT, he said that their funds and budget is improving. They had a successful bond sale in the fall, and there has been a new financial oversight established. The increase in traffic with people getting out some more has increased NCDOT's motor fuel tax revenue, so their cash balances are up some. So you will start to see DOT to do some of their routine maintenance they had suspended with the budget restrictions, such as picking up litter and signage and some different things. So that's good, that'll start happening. And then specific to Jamestown, the Lydia Greenway Trail, or East Main Street, they did change the completion date to June 2021. And then I think after our budget meeting, I did contact Wright Archer, who, you know, is the one who took Mike Mills's place, and talked to him about the storm drain in front of the library. And he got right on it, and it's been replaced. And I mean, he is a great guy.
That was great.
Was wonderful, very helpful.
That's great.
And then I have talked to Greg Venable, who is with High Point DOT, and he's the staff for TAC, again, about the Mendenhall Home Place crosswalk, and I did get a response from him. And he went through a history of things, but in the end, he said he's hopeful this April or May to have that completed. So,
I'm assuming the date on Lydia got moved because of all the rain.
and the railroad.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
Thank you, Martha.
working on the railroad.
All the live long day.
That's right.
I got nothing. We did not meet.
Did you have any meetings?
Not this
to
one.
report? Thank you. Wynn, how about a high school report for us?
Good evening, Council. If you recall from the meeting last month, the school system was planning on sending us back this Monday.
Yeah.
We did not go back to school yesterday. But at the Guilford County Schools Board meeting last Tuesday, they have decided that we will go back the first week of March. This seems like a more definite start date as they have sent out schedules to students for going back.
Good.
The first week of March we'll start with only 9th graders going back, and then the second week will be 9th, 10th, and 12th grade, and the third week of March will include the entire high school back in person. But this will not be fully back to normal because when we go back, they have now split the alphabet, and letters A through K will go Monday and Tuesday, while letters L through Z will go Thursday and Friday, using Wednesday as a day to clean the school. Another change from last month is the school day, or from last school year, but they made it at the board meeting. Instead of the 8:45 a.m. to 3:45 p.m. school day, they have transitioned to 10 a.m. to 4:25 p.m. This is due to having to clean buses after each use, as well as not having full capacity on them. Winter sports are beginning to wrap up, with only parents and personnel being allowed in. Spring sports are starting practices, with football beginning this Saturday with a scrimmage, and the first official game next Friday. Tickets are limited to 2 for seniors and only 1 for underclassmen, and members of the general public will not be able to attend, but the games will be live streamed like winter sports have been since December on the Ragsdale Athletics website. Any questions? That's what I have for the month.
Glad to hear they're going back in.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
You looking forward to going back?
I'm looking forward to going back. It'll be the last 3 months of high school for me, so.
Timing's
You'll
about
go
right.
back in time for graduation. Okay, Katie, do we have anyone signed up for the public comment period?
Nobody signed up.
Okay. And any other business, council, that you would like?
Well, I'd like to ask y'all a question. I just noticed tonight that the Mexican restaurant in the former Penny's building is open. Has anybody eaten there?
I didn't know it was open
This
yet.
first time
I
I
didn't know
saw
it was open.
I saw the open sign was on, so.
Okay,
Didn't know it was open.
Okay,
Had not
well,
seen
we'll
that.
have to, I'll go check that out.
Check that out.
I was just curious.
okay. Anything else?
No.
Okay. Do I have a motion to go into closed session?
Motion to go into closed session per General Statute 143-318 to discuss matters related to personnel.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Motion to return to open session.
Motion to return to open session.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.